Hi, I'm Joe Jonovic. I'm one of the co-owners and the Chief Revenue Officer at Solus Technology Solutions here in Reno, Nevada. The company's been in business for 21 years. I opened the office here in Reno 11 years ago and became part owner of the company in January of 2019.
Hi, my name is Akil Shahid. I'm the Vice President of National Strategic Partners here at Vonage. Been with the company now for 14 years. In my current role, I work very closely with our partners and part of our partner community to make sure that we're supporting them, enabling them, providing all the necessary resources they need. And it was a great opportunity for us to work alongside the Solus team.
Hi, I'm Katrina Hall, Senior Solutions Architect here at Vonage. I've been with the company for about 8 years now, and I specialize in putting together solutions for our enterprise customers, both on the unified communication side, as well as contact center.
This client is one of the large counties in the state of Nevada. It's made up of 39 different departments, different needs, different call flows, and they really were looking for something that would be kind of a homogeneous, that was feature rich, but would meet the individual needs of the individual departments, and Vonage checked all those boxes. We've been working with this customer for a while. We had taken over the management of all their mobile devices, like 1,500 devices, and had a really good experience. And then they came to us to upgrade their communications platform. They were on an old Asterisk premise-based solution, not very feature-rich. I think they had dial tone and voicemail, and they were really looking for something that was feature-rich, something that had redundancy. Apparently, with the phone provider that they had in Reno, whenever it would go down, the whole county would go down.
This solution came to us right around the time when COVID hit, and we were able to really give them the ability to have people in the office when they needed to be in the office, and then be able to take that same solution home and be able to communicate. They also have some really critical traffic that Vonage is able to provide a layer of redundancy at the customer premise as well, in order to make sure they don't miss any of those really important phone calls.
They were looking for a solution that they could scale with long-term, right? Being a county, of the reliability aspects that Joe talked about, that was critical for them. So, not only were they looking at a solution that they could scale with, but they were looking for the reliability and something that it really leveraged all the different technology investments they already had. So they had the different departments having different requirements. Those were all critical components that we had to really go through. So it wasn't a design a solution for one specific group and that it worked for everybody. We had to look at each different department and understand their needs, understand their requirements to really design something that would fit them all.
One of the things that helped Vonage win the deal is that when the county was vetting the options that we brought to them, they did their own research, and Vonage kept showing up at the top of the technology stack. They have had a really good reputation, and everywhere they went and asked, is Vonage the right solution for our big opportunity? They kept hearing the word yes. One of the things that we've tried to do as a company is stay away from big publicly traded companies, because it's really hard to develop that personal relationship. And with Vonage, we have key relationships with C-level executives, and if I call the CEO, he picks up my call. And so if we have a problem or an issue, or we need to move the ball across the goal line, or we have a mission critical situation, we know that they have our backs. We know that we're gonna get the right people on the phone, and they're gonna rally the troops, and we're gonna get the problem solved quickly and efficiently.
I'd say some of the challenges that Vonage helped to solve for this customer in particular was really we needed to give them a rock solid solution. Using Vonage's redundancy, we are housed in AWS, so we have redundant architecture throughout the United States. So being able to solve that issue for the customer, as well as giving them the ability to have remote workers.
Felt like we had a good solution in place from a redundancy perspective that gave them not only the uptime that we provide in our cloud, but also the last mile redundancy they needed on-prem as well. So I think those are the areas that really set us apart.
One of the things that we really appreciated about Vonage was that they were able to work with us within the confines of the government entity. And so we needed to do a proof of concept, and so we started small with like 400 seats, and we deployed those out to all the department heads. And then they were willing to make a bigger commitment if that proof of concept worked. And it took a long time to get this thing implemented. There was a changeover. We started working with one CIO, and then he left, and then there was an interim CIO. And then after we did the 400-seat proof of concept, they hired another CIO. And so we had to almost start all over again. And I thought it was really great that the Vonage team was very patient and very understanding. They met us where the customer needed us to meet them, and we patiently got them to a point of decision and got the deal closed.
And I would go back to that proof of concept phase of the solution, is that Vonage proved to the customer that our solution is very easy to implement. That's something that they reiterated to us, like they loved our administrative side of our unified communications platform, saving their IT team tons of time. They actually went and implemented a lot of the sites on their own without the help of Vonage. So that just shows how easy our solution is to deploy. We were also, you mentioned all these locations that they have, and obviously they're not going to have the same requirements for each one. So we were able to cater our call flows for each one of those departments, as well as, I've been involved in this project for probably 2 years now. It was one of my first major enterprise deals as well. And, we were there with their IT team when they decided, hey, let's see how Vonage integrates with Teams. Can we do a couple of phone calls, and can you show me the value of your solution? How does it work? So we were there with them, I would say, every step of the way from a technical perspective, as well as a professional services side of the house.
My partner Mike went out and interviewed the heads of all 39 departments to make sure that we had the right seat count, to make sure that we had the right call flows. Some departments are just using UCaaS, others were using your contact center solution. And so we really had to do a lot more work than normal on this deal, but it all worked out in the end.
Like Joe mentioned, we had to go through the sales process multiple times, and the technology, discussions several times as well, to make sure they understood the technology they were purchasing, and the new stakeholders that were getting introduced understood what they were buying, because they had no idea. So it was literally start and stop all over again to go through the process. They, obviously being a government, had some pricing pressures as well. As you remember, trying to get it approved from a budget perspective was challenging. Trying to get it through legal was challenging. So we had to, definitely leverage the resources within Vonage to make sure that we could deliver what they wanted. So it checked the boxes from a budget perspective and get the legal teams to go through all the checks and balances that were needed from a legal perspective.
We learned a lot about our platform as we were deploying such a large entity. They had 39 sites where we're trying to manage all of those, ports of telephone numbers. And we were able to take feedback from the county to make our system better. And that is something that's awesome about Vonage as well, is that we own our own technology stack. If we do need to make a shift and a change, we're able to get our product teams on board and have them make enhancements for our customers along the way as well. So their experience 2 years into the project is a little bit different than it was 2 years ago.
So I think the top 3 reasons that Vonage won the deal was, number one, their technology stack. They just have all the features and all the benefits that the competitors have, but they own all of them themselves. They're not bolting things together and just checking boxes. I think second, their reputation. When the new CIO went out and was asking around about Vonage, they got a very, very stellar reputation in the marketplace as a technology solution company. And then thirdly, I think it was just their flexibility. I think, there's a lot of vendors that we work with that might have got frustrated with the timeline that we went through to get this thing done. They stayed engaged, and there was times, Akil called me several times, is this ever gonna happen? And I just believed, right? I wasn't gonna be deterred. And they just stayed engaged and kept, whatever the county asked, boom, 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 we had an answer. Whatever they wanted, we got people together, we had the meetings, we just checked all the boxes, and eventually we got it done. at the speed of government. You know, we've been able to leverage this win and take it out to other government entities. We've been able to use the original customer as a reference, and we got a great story to tell. And so that's been kind of cool.
From the county's perspective, tons and tons of adoption with the Vonage solution. They still praise our administrative side of the house. They love, how quick and easy it is because, businesses grow, you've got to add a couple users here and there. You want to make sure that process is as easy as possible. So Vonage, checks that easy button there. And then to your point, you were mentioning about the phone configurations, is that Vonage was able to duplicate, the similar buttons on the phone. And it doesn't sound like that's something that's like mission critical, but to some people, like that's super important to them. So our professional services team was able to put some custom configurations on those phones to make the experience that much better for the team. The other thing I will say is that we're starting to now look at rolling out our contact center solution, and it's bolted on top of what they use today. So again, giving them ease of use from a contact center perspective as well. So
now that we've deployed Vonage in there, the comment to us is, hey, what else can Solus help us with? And so we really have credibility. The new budget just came out and is approved July 1st, and we're redoing and right-sizing their network and doing redundant internet connections. We've got a conversation scheduled around cybersecurity, and so everything that we've done in there have given them an additional confidence level so that they're looking for other opportunities that they can bring the Solus team into because they trust us, and we've provided some really good enterprise-grade solutions that they're extremely happy with. We love Vonage. We've had a lot of success with them. One thing we did as a company over the last 90 days is we have contractual relationships with over 250 vendors, and we just made a decision as we're getting older, we want to work smarter, not harder. And so we've taken that vendor base and we've distilled it down to 21 companies, and there's only 2 or 3 companies in the UCaaS, CCaaS space that we work with, and Vonage is the lead company that we work with. And it's, again, it has to do a lot with how they executed on this deal, but it also has to do with the personal relationships that we've developed. And we just, there's a partnership, and we just really appreciate knowing that if we've got a deal that's it's a little outside the box, that they're going to go there with us and they're going to help us figure it out, and they're going to help us, design and implement a solution that's going to be best for the customer. And so we love Vonage and look forward to, continuing to do big deals with you guys.